So Manchester City have been doing really good business so far in the transfer market. However, there is one position that is still under question, and that is the right back role. That is a position that we have been linked in with a lot of players since the beginning of January, obviously after Kyle Walker decided that he was going to leave the club on loan to AC Milan. And ever since Manchester City have been trying to identify our right back position, or the next player to bring in for the right back position, we've looked at Tino Livramento in this window so far. It looks increasingly obvious that Newcastle do not want to let go of him unless an absolutely ridiculous transfer fee comes in for him around the 70-80 million pound mark I have seen, and that is just absolutely ridiculous. So that brings me on to what I want to talk about today in this video, and this is my top 5 players that I would be looking at in the right back position. And obviously I'm looking at realistic options here. I'm not just going to pull out the best 5 right backs in the world and say we should sign them. I'm going to be looking at options that I do think is realistic for us to sign, and players that I think would really suit the way that we want to play next season, and especially in the balance of the current squad. But just before I get started, please, if you do enjoy this type of content and want to see more of it and you like the video idea, then hit a like button to let me know that you are enjoying the content. And on top of that as well, hit the subscribe button while you're there to show me some love. I'm trying to at least get to the 1,000 mark. I would love to do that at some point soon. So if you can help me towards that goal, I'd be eternally grateful. However, let's just get straight into the video. And coming in at number 5 in my top 5 players for Manchester City to sign in the right back position, I'm going with Crystal Palace's Daniel Munos. Now, I think he is a really good option in that right back role for Crystal Palace this season and for the half a season beforehand where he's played in the Premier League. I think he's been absolutely outstanding for Crystal Palace. Now, obviously, Palace play in a bit more of a wing-back system with their fullbacks. However, Daniel Munos has shown a great propensity to be able to not only affect the game going forward in that wing-back role, but also defensively perform quite well for Crystal Palace as well. And I do think he's a very well-rounded fullback. Now, when you look at his statistical profile, one thing that stood out to me is he's not really a type of player that gets involved in the overall build-up of the game. He's more of a player that affects the game and receives the ball deeper in the final third. However, as I stated before, it's not just the output that he has in terms of goals and assists in the final third, creating chances. He does that very well. However, one thing about him which I really do like is his defensive capabilities as well. He's quite quick. He's got the ability to go up and down that flank all game long. And I do think that that is very important heading into the new season as we find a right back that is not only capable of receiving the ball in the final third and creating chances, potentially even scoring goals as well, but more so defensively they need to be solid, and they also need to have the ability to get up and down the pitch, down that right-hand side, like Mateus Nunes can do, but just to a higher level obviously than Mateus Nunes because he's not a natural right back. And I think that Daniel Munos would be a perfect player for that role. And another good thing about Daniel Munos is he wouldn't cost that much money. I do believe that Crystal Palace would be willing to let him go around the mark of £40 million. Now, it is quite steep. Obviously, Premier League players do cost a little bit more, but I do think for the quality in which he would bring to the team, that is a fair price. However, the problem I do have with this transfer, and kind of the reason why he's slipped down the list a little bit for me, is because of his age. He's 29 years of age, which obviously means he's not old. You know, he can still be very capable of doing a job for the next 2-3 years. However, once he reaches the mark of the next 2-3 years, you will be looking at possibly a decline in his performances. And not only that as well, you will possibly also will be looking at the fact that we're going to have to go and sign someone new for him as well. So ultimately, to pay that much money for a player that would only be viable for about 3 or 4 seasons is a lot of money to shell out, to be completely honest. However, I do think that Daniel Munos is a very, very good right back, and I do think he would be a massive benefit to Manchester City next season. But then in 4th place, travelling out of the Premier League and into Liga, a player that I have actually been quite interested at while looking at the statistical profile, a lot of fullbacks or a lot of right backs around the world, is a player from Monaco called Vanderson. Now, he is a Brazilian fullback. He's quite young. He's 24 years of age. Barcelona are reportedly interested in signing him at the moment as well. And when I look at his statistical profile, he was quite impressive in terms of all aspects of his ability going forward. He carries the ball really well. He's very comfortable on the ball. He gets very much involved in the build-up play, and he can also contribute with creating chances, scoring goals, assisting goals in the final third as well. So I do think he is quite a good right back in terms of his versatility, in terms of the way that he can be used for Pep Guardiola. But not only that as well, he also is quite good as well defensively. And I do think, as I said, that is something that I have to look at when I'm looking at right backs, because we've obviously purchased Aït-Nouri, who's going to love to bomb down that left-hand side. So we do need a right back that is quite defensively capable. And despite obviously having a very good statistical profile going forward, his defensive statistics were actually pretty impressive as well. And he's also exceptionally quick as well. And that would mean that we have two very quick fullbacks on either flank. And obviously, Pep Guardiola loves to be able to be a little bit more sound in transitions. And we used to have the pace of Kyle Walker in those transitions, which used to save us a lot. However, I always felt that outside of Kyle Walker, Manchester City's defense really struggled pace-wise to be able to get back at times, and we did rely on Kyle Walker at times. To have Aït-Nouri and a player like Vanderson potentially in those fullback roles that are very athletic, can get up and down the pitch really well, and are very, very quick in recovery transitions, I actually think that that would be a really, really useful asset for Pep Guardiola, and something that we can absolutely benefit from next season. At the age of 24, as I previously mentioned, I do think it would be a really good pickup, and his price valuation is quite interesting as well. 30 to 40 million euros is quite good for a player of Vanderson's quality. I mean, he's got very, very good ability to get up and down the pitch. He's got that athleticism. He's very quick as well, so he can do that at a high speed. But in terms of the build-up phase of the game, he can get very involved in that as well. His passing ability is very good. And also, he can carry the ball really well. He can contribute to goals and assists in the final third, and is defensively strong. All of that for 30 to 40 million euros would be an absolute steal. But then coming in at third for me is a right back that Manchester City have been linked to over the last couple of months. And if you do follow Manchester City news closely, you will know who this is. Wesley from Flamengo. He's a young Brazilian right back. And ultimately, I did not know who he was when we first got linked to him. I have had a little bit of a look into his statistical profile. And I've got to say, I'm quite impressed in terms of his numbers, in terms of bringing the ball forward. He carries the ball very well. He's very active in terms of the build-up phases of the game. Very good on the ball. And on top of that as well, he's really, really good defensively. He's a strong defender at that right-back position. And I do think that that is really important for me when I'm looking at this role. Yes, I'm looking at what they can contribute going forward. And don't get me wrong, Wesley is decent going forward in terms of his attacking numbers, his created chances. They're not elite. They're just solid. But when you look at his right back role defensively, I do think that he could do a real good job defensively in that position. Now, he's 21 years of age, which means he's got plenty of time to be able to develop. The one question, obviously, that we all have is that he's playing in the Brazilian league right now, and it is a little bit of a punt. He has been quoted at around the mark of 40 million euros, which would be a lot of money, obviously, to pay on a player who has never played in Europe's top 5 leagues. However, he looks like a very good young prospect in that right back position. He is very good defensively, very comfortable on the ball as well, can carry it quite well. And I do think that he would be a good option for Manchester City. I really do. And I've just edged him above Vanderson just because he is a bit younger. And on top of it as well, I think we would face less competition in terms of picking him up. And he is a bit defensively better than Vanderson. But then going into second in my list for my top right backs that we should sign this summer, I have gone to Tottenham Hotspur. Yeah, you probably didn't think I was going there. Don't worry, it's not Pedro Porro that I'm talking about here. I'm talking about Jed Spence. I think he's been really good last season in the Premier League. Whenever he was given the opportunity to play, he really impressed me, whether he's playing in the left back position, whether he's playing in the right back position. He was really comfortable. He's an elite ball carrier in terms of the ball at his feet. He can carry it large distances. He's very comfortable as well passing the ball. He gets involved in the build-up phases of the game. I wouldn't say his attacking numbers are exceptional by any means, but one thing that I really did notice about Jed Spence, which really makes him an interesting prospect for me, is his one-on-one defensive ability. Whenever I watched him for Tottenham Hotspur last season, one-on-one with a winger, he always usually came out on top. And if you look at Tottenham Hotspur's other fullbacks in Pedro Porro and Destiny Udogie, I found it night and day, the difference between watching Jed Spence and them defending those wide channels. So he is a player that really interested me last season. Obviously, Tottenham did pick him up for 20 million, not euros, 20 million pounds. And I do think that we probably have to at least double that in terms of getting Jed Spence. So he would be an expensive option. I think Tottenham Hotspur, they historically do like to, you know, drive the bargain quite high for these types of players as well, especially if a big club is in for them. But I would pay max probably 50 million for Jed Spence. I probably do think you might be able to claw him out. It just depends, obviously, on what Thomas Frank wants to do with the Tottenham squad next season. But he is a player that has really impressed me. And with that Premier League level experience as well, showing he can do it at Premier League level, being one of Tottenham's best players whenever I watched them last season, I would really be interested in signing a fullback who is quite defensively strong, versatile, and is able to carry the ball and be very involved in build-up play as well. And that leaves us with one option left, and that is the number one option in which I would choose for a right-back signing this window for Manchester City. And I'm not going to lie, you're going to be shocked, and I'm shocked at who I came across when looking at the statistical profile of right-backs out there. And it's a fullback that I had never heard of before I made this video, but it is a wonder kid from the Eredivisie at Feyenoord. His name is Geraro Ream. Now, I probably have butchered that if I'm being completely honest, but when I looked at his statistical profile, I was shocked. This kid is absolutely outstanding. He's 19 years of age. He's quoted to cost around the mark of 30 million euros. He is one of the best young right-back prospects in the world that not many people know about at the moment. And when I looked at this statistical profile, I mean, I was just blown away. He's an elite ball carrier. He carries the ball really well. Very, very comfortable and active in the build-up phases of the game. He creates chances. He can score goals. I think he's got 2 goals and 6 assists in the Eredivisie this season. And on top of it as well, his defensive numbers are outstanding. His one-on-one defensive numbers, his overall numbers across the board were outstanding. And when I looked at his statistical profile, he absolutely dominated compared to everyone I looked at. There were a lot of players that were good maybe offensively, but defensively quite weak. The other way around, maybe defensively quite strong, offensively weak, maybe a little bit of both. But there was no one who was absolutely solid in both departments, was absolutely outstanding. And that is, you can't lie with the raw numbers. And look, I'm just going to come clean. I've not watched him play a full 90 minutes in my life. I'm not going to pretend like I have. I've watched now clips of him. I know from the clips that I've watched, he looks very impressive, both defensively and offensively. But the statistics really do not lie. When you know what you're looking at in terms of player profiling and when you're looking through the numbers, in terms of his successful take-ons defensively versus wingers, very, very high. He's got some of the highest numbers in Europe. In terms of his creative numbers, in terms of his aerial duels, his overall duels that he wins, he's strong in every single department. Ball carrying, passing. All of his statistics point towards this kid being a generational right back. And I personally think at the age of 19, for 30 million euros, it is looking like he could be worth. To pick him up in this window and nurture him into that right back role, you've got Mateus Nunes as well, who you can also play in that right back role. Rico Lewis can do a job in there as well. Akanji, Stones throughout the season might be able to supplement in that area in case we're short. But I would take a risk. I really would. I really do think that this could be the potential for us to have a new best right back in the league for 10 years. I mean, that is what we're talking about here, potentially. And look, I'm not trying to hype him up too much, but a 19-year-old who's only played 33 games looks as impressive as he does on numbers. And on top of that as well, he also has played in the Champions League. I would take a punt. I really would. And that wraps up my top 5 list of right backs in which I would sign for Manchester City in this transfer window to help replace Kyle Walker as our right back for next season. In number 5, I've got Daniel Munos. In number 4, Vanderson. 3, I've got Wesley. In number 2, I've got Jed Spence. And then in number 1, I've gone with Ream. Now, I'm sure there's going to be some people that are going to comment on this video and say, what the hell are you talking about? Signing a 19-year-old Feyenoord defender who's only played 33 games. I think that there's a real market opportunity here to pick up what could be a generational right-back talent. Obviously, only time will tell, but I think that the numbers are almost irrefutable. Go and look at them. Go on FBref after this video. Look at his numbers. They are very impressive. And then go watch a few videos like I did as well, and you might be as convinced as I am for this one. But yeah, let me know in the comment section below. Am I right? Am I wrong? But yeah, that is my opinion. Those are my top 5 right backs in which I think Manchester City should target this window. If you do enjoy the content, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button as well and hit the subscribe button to help us get to that 1K mark on YouTube. I'd be eternally grateful for it. So thank you so much for viewing the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.